When you start your company, you and your co-founders are going to feel like you're going to be working together forever. It's the normal feeling that we all have because there's just so much excitement, so much enthusiasm about what's going on in your company. And you're going to think we're going to make all our decisions together. That's also normal, especially your co-founders are going to feel this way. So it's really not too surprising if one of your co-founders comes to you and says, I should be co-CEO with you. So by the end of this video, I'm going to teach you how to deal with this challenging question when you get it. And I'm going to walk through all your options because I've been there, I've seen this one before, and I know exactly what to do when this happens because guess what? I had this exact same thing happen to me that happened to one of the people that I'm working with right now. His name's Bob, and we're going to go through my story, but it's the same exact story that Bob had. So let's get started. Imagine this scenario. You've been CEO for about a year, and you and your co-founders have been working well together, and now totally out of the blue, at usually the exact worst time, one of your co-founders comes to you and says, I should be co-CEO along with you. And worse yet, he insinuates that if you don't make him co-CEO, guess what? He's going to quit. That's the exact situation I had with two of my co-founders, Ken and Randy, who did this to me when we were closing funding. If you can imagine that, we were closing our Series A funding, and that's exactly when they pulled this on me. Bob had something similar happen to him. Not when he was closing funding, but about a year in, one of his co-founders went to him and said, hey, I should be co-CEO. So I'm going to walk through next what your options are when you get this difficult question and how you can deal with this. So let's go through the options right now. So there were three key facts in my situation. Bob had two of these three, but I'm going to give you my three key facts. The first is that we've been working together for about a year. We've been working together reasonably well as a team. The second is we were in the middle of closing our Series A funding. We had a term sheet. We were in the documents phase of closing funding. And that's when Ken and Randy decided to spring their little idea on me. That was the second fact. The third fact is they threatened to quit if I didn't agree with them. And that's the same thing that happened with Bob too, is in his particular case, one of his co-founders threatened to quit as well. So now, what do you do? What are the options here? Now, one thing you could do, and this is what I'd like you to put in the comments column before we go through the rest of the video, is you could make them co-CEOs. You could just agree. So should you agree or not? What do you think without any more data on this situation? What should you do? Just put it in the comments column below the video. Yes or no. So the first thing you could do is you could indeed agree with their demands. So there are positives and negatives of doing this. Let's go through the positives first. The first positive is, well, they have experience. So why not take advantage of that experience and make all of your decisions as a collective? Why not just do that? And the second positive is, well, you remove the possibility that they're going to quit, right? They're threatening you and they're saying, hey, we're going to quit. So why not just agree? Takes that away too, right? Those are the two positives of the situation. Now for the negatives of the situation. The first one is co-CEOs rarely, if ever, work. And this is one of the questions I posed to Ken and Randy, is show me an example of this working. They couldn't do it. Now, I know there actually are examples of this working. So it does work from time to time. So yes, but it rarely, if ever, works. The second reason I don't like, and this is a more specific reason, is that guess what? It slows decision-making to a crawl. If you have to make every decision together and all three of you or all two of you or whatever the combination is have to agree, well, then guess what happens if you all have to agree? It goes slower, Don't think you're going to make decisions like that. It just doesn't work that way. It goes slower. Then the third reason why, the third negative of making this decision, you're going to lose control of the team in all likelihood if you agree. Nobody's going to know who the leader is when this happens. That's part of how you lose control. So those are the positives and those are the negatives of saying, okay, let's make you co-CEOs. Now for the second option, and this is a pretty extreme option. You could just fire them and say, you know what, you guys are insubordinate. It's not working out. You're fired. It seems extreme, but it's certainly a reasonable possibility to do this. So the positives are, well, you get rid of the problem. If you have a co-founder who's being problematic, who's being argumentative and isn't going to agree with you and is going to challenge your authority, just get rid of them, right? That's a possibility. That would be the positive, right? You just get rid of that problem. Now for the negative. It seems like overkill, doesn't it? My goodness, all they're doing is just suggesting something. In my particular case, it was a little more than that, but in Bob's case, it was just somebody innocently suggesting something more out of ignorance than anything else. So, firing somebody over that, and even in my case, which was more egregious, it just didn't make sense. You should be able to do it a different way. So the negatives were, it's just overkill, to go to this extreme. Now for the third option, you just say no. No, we can't do this. No, we're not going to consider this. So what are the positives of working this way and going with this route? Well, there can only be one leader in a company at one time. And that leader is you. You're the CEO. The second is it's going to speed up your decision making if you work this way. So now suddenly, rather than decision making taking a long time, and if you're sitting there and all three of you have to agree to everything, or all two of you have to agree to everything, it can go slowly. Sometimes you get into groupthink with decisions. So it eliminates that. The third positive of this is that it's clear to the team who the leader is. And this is really important, by the way. The team needs to know who's in charge. And that person, again, is you. Now, the negatives, particularly in my case, and it can also really hurt you, if you lose a key team member, it's hard to replace a key member of your team. In my case, I had 2 key team members threatening me that they were going to quit right when we were closing our funding. Now, do you think that was an accident? I sure don't. Of course not. But, if you agree, you're going to have chaos on the other end of this. So anyways, that's the negative, is you could lose everything possibly. And that was a clear possibility in my particular circumstance. We could lose everything if both of these people walked out. So what should you do? And what did Bob do? Well, here's what Bob did. Bob said no. He took option number 3, which is the same option I took as well. We both said no. We're not going to do this. Now, in Bob's case, he explained, because there was a lot of innocence in this particular case, which I think is more common than in my particular case, is that there was a lot of innocence in the co-founder thinking, hey, we can be co-CEOs. Bob walked him through everything he was doing as CEO. And it was a real surprise to his co-founder, all the responsibilities, all the decision-making that he had to do. And that immediately led to an apology, interestingly enough, in Bob's case, which was great. So it was like, okay, yeah, I get it. You're right. I'm so sorry I even suggested this. And the working relationship has remained really good. In my particular case, I just told them no, because I challenged them and I said, hey, show me an example. And they couldn't do it. And I said, okay, well, until you guys show me something that works, we're not doing this. And they backed down. It never came up again. Never, ever, ever did it come up again. So I think when you're challenged like this, and especially when people threaten you as CEO, you almost never, ever, ever want to say yes to the threats. Because when you do, what's next? They're going to keep blackmailing you forever. So you have to say no. You have to say no. You have to find a way to keep your authority. That's really important. There can only be one CEO. I know co-CEOs happen from time to time, but in my opinion, there can only be one CEO. Well, if you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button. Please comment on today's video if you'd like in the comments section. And if you think there are other people that you think would like this video, share it with them, please. And also, please subscribe to my channel as well so you get more content like this. I'm Brett at brettjfox.com. Have a great, great day.